or lack thereof, just before we hit play, maybe a half hour before, you shared with me a piece of audio that stopped me in my tracks, largely because I am a public radio vet and I am a media junkie, hence the name of the show. And anyone who's watched any of this stuff, it's clear I'm obsessed with this stuff. And I would like to go there if you're down for it.
Totally. This is, of course, I thought of you with this. This is like this could have been your life story, except that you don't rap. That's the thing.
Or say the N-word.
Right. Actually, for you, it would have worked the other way because you would have had too much public broadcasting cred. You're not Kevin Durant. That's the point. You're not trying to make a record out here. So this couldn't have happened to you, but you could have been easily involved in a situation or in the building for a situation like this. This
without
is
a doubt.
You've lived this shit.
Yeah. And just about when you talk to other public radio veterans in larger markets and smaller markets, it is essentially the same. It is the same environment, the same kind of people, the same kind of temperament. It's not a negative thing. It's just a very specific thing. It's generally a very lefty thing. And I think what we're about to go into is pretty self-explanatory. Or do you think there should be something that we should say to set this one up?
No. I mean, so this is a segment from this is a premium, paid only podcast of Blocked and Reported episode. It just aired yesterday, posted yesterday, hosted by Katie Herzog and Jesse Singal. I'm a paid subscriber to their podcast. I love their podcast. I love their banter. I think it's so engaging to listen to. I cut out a lot of their humorous banter, but Katie Herzog sets up this story and she explains everything in this audio clip. So shout out to them. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you become a paid member, or at least check out their free podcasts on their Substack, blockedandreported.substack.com, and see if you like it. And then you get premium episodes like this.
Yeah, Bar Pod. And shout out to Katie and Jesse. I am a fan of their show as well. I haven't listened as much recently, but I think they do an excellent job. They have drilled down to a very specific online controversy, media-ish kind of niche.
Yeah, I mean, and they've become an essential part of my media diet. Like, I love listening to them when I walk to go to take my daughter to drop her off at school. And there's all the parts where they're making fun of each other. I cut those out of this clip, but there's a lot of that in their reports. Their timing with each other, they're like a comic duo.
Yeah,
I think,
I agree. They get each other, and they play off each other very well, and they know how to push each other too. And I really enjoy that about that show. I'm kind of feeling bad. I don't have premium. Maybe I should join them with premium. But I'll consider that off air.
We're gonna quickly follow up on the ongoing personnel saga at WHYY, Philadelphia's public radio station.
We produced a brilliant episode. It was about Jad Slayman, who's this comedian who worked at a public radio station and basically got fired because he made jokes people in his office found offensive, particularly management. He made jokes.
And he was not making the jokes in the office.
Sorry, yeah, I told that story horribly. He was a stand-up comedian.
We're
not going to re-record this
at work.
Yeah, he did stand up on the side, and folks should just listen to the episode. We got amazing audio of this like judge trying to explain his jokes and his station management. End of the day, he was reinstated to his job, and this was high stakes for him because he has health problems, and he was fired under what seemed to be pretty ridiculous, for lack of a better word, cancel culture-y circumstances.
Right. So after going through this arbitration process with WHYY, Jad got his job back, at least briefly, but something else came out of this. So one of the complaints against Jad was that he used the term raghead in his act. Now, he's Arabic, born to a Muslim family. I don't know if he's actually a practicing Muslim, but Jad and the union that represented him argued in this arbitration, like basically he's allowed to use the term raghead because he is himself a raghead.
I wanted to stop there because I've thought about this a lot. We've talked about this actually online a fair bit as well. And I want to get a vibe check on you with this kind of concept. I'm black. Should I, in your perspective, should I have free reign to use the N-word here or there or any way which I choose?
I think there is a sort of common sense context cue kind of recognition. I think it's sort of understood. It's just a matter of sort of just general etiquette that people in a group are going to use a term to defang its to take the venom out of it, and they're often going to do it ironically with humor. So the short answer is yes, I do. You can just sort of tell in certain situations people are going to call each other in that in group that thing, and it's meant lighthearted, and I do think it is often a successful repurposing of a slur.
I have no problem with other people using the word. I choose not to.
Mm. You know, I'm coming around on that finally after like 40 years of thinking that people should use it. The not the hard R,
Mhm.
but we can.
Change your mind.
I'm coming around. I'm less. I mean, I am not comfortable using it around people I don't know who use it, like people that I grew up around. But yeah, and I don't want to unpack all that, but it just seems maybe like it's time. What I really don't like though is, and this gets to the flip side of your question, what I really don't like is rappers using it and then all of the rest of us doing this fucking charade where it gets censored out of,
Mhm.
gets bleeped out,
Mhm.
and the people that work in public broadcasting aren't tuned in enough to not see that as a slur themselves. And when news media reports on it, they always report that it's a slur, whether it's being used in the familiar sense or not. And I can't stand this idea that, oh, we're going to put this in our lyrics, but if you're not black, you can't even rhyme along with this song that you're bumping in your car, and you have to fucking censor yourself. That whole Chris Rock skit, that pisses me off.
It's performance theater.
That's exactly
It's
what Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter just called it when they talked about this issue. Slightly different context, not rap music, but well, they did bring it up actually. Yeah, it's like you're supposed to bleep yourself. Like, man, get the fuck out of here.
Mhm.
Just so that somebody can say, we can use this word and you can. It's like titillating themselves and the audience, right? There's this forbidden word. That really bothers me.
Yeah, and I came to that conclusion. What was his name of the song? Last Call, I think it was called.
By who?
I think it was an Outkast song. And if you it starts with I think it's Outkast and Little John.
Mm.
And if you listen to the very beginning of the song, it is and we're this over and over again. It's catchy as fuck. And I was like, I at that moment I had contorted myself to feel bad about enjoying this. And
Oh,
then I was
wow,
like,
you were really PC.
and then I thought, what the hell was like, what am I doing? Like, well,
Robbing yourself of musical pleasure.
yeah, like that's just silly.
I mean, to that extent. So how old are you? Were you a teenager?
No, I was in like college.
There are moments like that that we all have with music. You're like, should I be enjoying this? Like when I heard Slayer's "Angel of Death," which is the litany of Holocaust atrocities in that song, and I was 15, and I was like, I don't know, this is. But ultimately, I decided to enjoy the music. I think that's fine, and I think that I like that young people will stop and consider, what am I ingesting? But in a case like that, it's like you can't have that music. And the other thing is, NWA in particular were very savvy. Eazy-E wanted white America. He wanted like the everybody using the word in the context of his band. like Eazy-E wanted to tour with Guns N' Roses after they had their controversy when Axl Rose used the word nigger. Police and niggers don't mean a thing to me, I think, in the song Just a Little Patience, is it called? So, and so much of the audience for hip hop is white. So you got a bunch of white suburban kids in the 90s hearing this stuff. They're gonna think it's okay. And so now we're saying, oh no, 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 no. There's something so convoluted, and it's puritanical. It's like, oh, I can't enjoy music. Oh, don't let me do it. You're gonna go into the closet to like enjoy a song. How
Yeah.
ridiculous and how
Yeah.
distinctly American is that?
And that's why I changed my mind. That logic lays it out precisely. It's silly. I'm policing myself for what? And so I'm just going to enjoy this, and we can go deeper in it another time. I'd like to go further down this.
Yes, because
rabbit hole.
this has such a great punchline, this story.
Yeah. I'm going to play this for you. Okay. Back to.
And I love how they're laughing. Like so many times they're like laughing while they're talking about this.
Yeah, I think you should make fun of it.
So, like, it's not offensive when you're referring to your own group, the same way that I can call myself a dyke, you can call yourself a kike. And then, so during this arbitration process, the union asked if that was allowed. Like, are in-groups allowed to use these in-group terms?
All right. Once again, there is not. All right. I
love how a union is wrestling with this. It's like an HR issue. But this comedian is getting fired for comedy bits he's doing outside of work.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the bits, but he's using the term raghead ironically.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I'll
Jesus
be
Christ.
shocked if a public radio employee was not. It's not impossible. I know a few that are not super PC but odds are pretty strong it was using it ironically, or just a pure like something that was a light tap, if anything.
Right.
I also loathe the fact that the policing of language, the outside of work thing. I know that work is a privilege. When you work for an organization, it's no guarantee. There's no guarantee, but I wouldn't want to work for a company that would demand that I police my language in my activities away from work,
Especially in creative. Sorry, you said I'm not
working for you when I'm on stage, or when I'm with my friends and family, or when I'm at the cafe. I can understand you retaliating, I can get that. I understand. You have the right to retaliate.
Well, that's what my mom always said. When you leave this house, you're representing me by the way you look. So comb your fucking hair. She didn't say fucking, but right.
And I
So
can
that's
watch. I think my mom would say very similar things. When she sees me with my beard right now, she does not like it because she thinks I'm representing her.
mhm.
But and you know, she like the employer, they can make choices.
You can lobby. You can certainly push that argument, and it depends on the situation, right? Like if you and I are going with our moms to a wedding,
Mhm.
then that's an appropriate time to invoke that parental authority clause. Like you are my property, kind of. You are my proprietary rights over you do extend further than you might think, right? That's but in the context of art, say this comedian Jad had done a painting with the term raghead in it, but it was all
Mhm.
about like the pain of it was basically an NPR fucking segment about the pain that children of Arabic parents have to go through when they're called raghead by these bully white kids. They would have fucking like lapped that shit up like kittens to milk.
Not only that, it's a very interesting thing because I didn't bring up John Stewart, but he made his big return. And but
With two guns shooting.
I, yeah, both sides of the aisle, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it also gets in what he said there gets into something we'll get to a bit later. But in that case, it's almost the inverse of this one because you have a comedian saying something that the orthodoxy it won't admit, and because he is a comedian, he gets away with it. In this case, as a comedian, they're saying that, oh yeah, even as a comedian, you can't get away with it,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're saying it with a comic sensibility. It's it strikes me as one of those Ouroboros liberal Ouroboros situations where
Mm-hmm.
you're sort of just eating yourself alive.
Well, and
You're
that's illustrated perfectly it as they continue to talk about how this story unfolds.
yeah, and we'll go right back there.
And the WHYY executives were like, no, we never tolerate this. And then so Jad's side played audio of another WHYY employee, a guy named Amir Richardson. He's a rapper. He performs as the Bull Bay in Philly. He's pretty well known in the Philly rap scene. He had a song on, oh, fuck, what is that TV show called? Abbott Elementary. So he's a well-known rapper in Philly, and he uses the N-word with impunity on his raps. So that side plays this audio, and WHYY was basically trapped at that point because they just said the Arabic guy can't use the term raghead, and now they have tape of the black guy using the N-word. So after
Before we proceed, I think I've used this term with you before. I'm not sure I've used this in this context, but there's a concept called the progressive stack
Mm-hmm.
that illustrates what's happened here. Basically, it's whether it's your race and by disability and by sexuality, you're essentially putting a series of traits on a ladder,
Ranking.
ranking them and when you're in a circle or in a group, as I first encountered this about 15 years ago, longer actually.
Much to your horror, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. I was in this room. It was me, and it was a bunch of white people and an Asian guy. And I was going first, the Asian guy was going second, and all the white people were going after us. And I'm just there And I'm like, why? I just got here. Why am I going first all the time? And they just said stack. I'm like, what's a stack?
God.
I don't know what a stack is.
Wow. What I like about this story, though, is that deference made you uncomfortable. See, unfortunately, too many people take the bait, and they like the power that it gives them.
And how this intertwines is that is now embedded in an institution.
Although the trans people would trump your and the
Yeah.
and women. Well, the trans people would trump women, who would trump black women would trump you,
Mhm.
and then you. So you're way down the stack now, close to the Asian guy who's now white adjacent. So you better watch it.
Yeah. It is a thing that I've heard recently. Black men are the face of white supremacy or something like this.
Yes, I forgot that, but yes, I know what you're referring to. And what's amazing about this is that the stack is enforced by who? Who are the wardens of the stack? The people that work at places like NPR.
Yeah.
And run in our activists friend circle.
Yeah. So this is I fear for our future that this is embedded in an institution like this. It's not surprising.
I
but it
don't
doesn't-
fear.
It's going to. It's got to implode, I would think. But
Yes, stories like this are going to make it implode, and I also think it's hilarious too. I find it entertaining.
well, after I say that, I'm stopping myself because NPR is incredibly strong, and I think some of these worlds are so insular. As another point I will get to later, I'm gonna dive into a very insular world that it might not matter, but I fear that about this being just in the fabric, in the wallpaper of all.
I mean, yes,
areas.
it is.
Relax.
It's ambient in our interpersonal like airspace. That I think you're right on. It's not ever. We're not gonna like be able to Lysol the molecules of this out of the air. It's just here, and there's a certain type of person or certain demographic of person, and also certain type of situation that you're always going to have to sort of dance around this. But I think it's easy to kind of do jujitsu and get out of it. Like I think
I hope so. I'm gonna need it.
you sure will.
Afterwards, they demanded that Richardson, who I heard was a star employee at the station, they demanded that he take the offending raps off of social media. And rather than do that, he resigned.
It's so bizarre. It's just like, it's just funny because it's sort of the natural endpoint of all this. Like,
Totally.
you're making a black employee resign for his raps.
Right.
That's crazy.
I mean, I would guess that the next thing you know, Terry Gross is going to be fired for calling herself a Jewess.
I'm guessing WHYY is not exactly a wash in cash at the moment, and they seem to be spending a huge amount of time, I guess, policing their different employees of color's use of slurs against themselves. I would love someone to do an accounting of how much money they've spent on this, because like, if you're going to donate to this station, it's probably going to like the N-word defense fund or up.
All right. That's probably the most salient point and the biggest hope I get from this. In order to accurately police this kind of thing, and it's a thing I've encountered in a lot of ways, and I won't go into them, but I've encountered this in a lot of ways. If you're going to have a policy, you had better have a way to enforce it and police it. If you can't police it, then why are you having a fucking policy?
Well, and also it's going to cost you a lot in legal fees because the employees of color are going to fight back.
Without a doubt.
And the union is going to fight back on their behalf.
Yeah.
And you get this twisted logic. And all one of these employees has to do is be like, use that same mindset against them, right? Like use those. It's like, well, I was marginalized from my job, and this is yet another example of of white supremacy. You can take that tack, or you can just be like, this is dumb. Look, the people that are most affected by this are people of color. How fucking like handicapped is this to be doing that? I was going to say retarded, which I think we need to bring that word back, but
All right, I'll finish off the clip.
that might be it. That's it. Yeah, no, he said,
Oh,
yeah.
that's all.
One thing that I cut out though was Katie Herzog explained that Sarah Glover, who's the VP of News and Civic Dialogue at WHYY, after Amir Richardson, the rapper, resigned, she sent an office-wide email saying goodbye to him and wishing him well. And then Jad, the comedian, replied all and said that she forced him out. Oh, and Sarah Glover's black, by the way.
Not surprised.